My great-grandfather was Pancho Villa, a bandit to some, Robin Hood to others. After he forced himself on my great-grandmother in what he called an efficient courtship, she was left to clean the clothing spoiled by their struggle. She piled those items with the rest of the laundry and washed them on a ribbed board in the midday sun, just as she had done every week for the last year. She was the washwoman of the revolutionaries. Stains, lye soap, and cold water were no match for my great-grandmother's hands. Some say she could just as easily wring a man's neck as wring out his trousers. Why Pancho Villa came out alive after attacking her, I'll never know. But I suspect that she sacrificed herself for the revolution. To slay him would have triggered complete chaos for rebels in the north. History would say she made the right choice. I guess I'm glad she had such noble beliefs, not for the revolution's sake, but because that rape on a sunny spring morning begot a new kind of woman. Mama says Pancho Villa's rebel blood, mixed with great-grandmother's resilience, made us special. We're sure shots for one thing, and we've also got what Mama calls a heightened sensitivity to danger and convention. Mama says the words mean the same thing, synonyms I learned in 2nd grade. That was at my school in Ciudad Palinche. I still pass it on the way to the windshield wiper factory. The bus Sasquatches along just as the students in their short blue skirts and white knee socks spill out after the last bell. We live in the dusty foothills, about 30 minutes by ruta to the broad factory avenue in the city center. On our roof, I often lean against the concrete blocks that should be the start of another floor and smoke cigarettes in the shade of the sun-stiffened laundry. From across the border, the blinking lights send me mixed signals. Come, go, come, go, go, go. But for all they say about Palinche, I don't want to flee it. Not anymore. It took some time, but I've decided now that's not the way of revolutionaries. We fight to make it better. I discovered my power when I was 12. It was my cousin Jessica's 15th birthday party in a church basement, of all places. I sat in the back while Jessica pranced and swayed in layered taffeta. I wore my favorite skirt. It was short. Glimpses of my pink underwear peeked between my thighs if I didn't close my legs. Mama never taught me to sit cross-legged, but when Benito, my aunt's boyfriend, stood across from me and gazed at that space, I pressed my knees together. "Estás bonita hoy," he said, moving to sit next to me, and then I smelled it. The coppery tang of crossed electrical wires. I recognized that smell from our priest, who used to ask if the devil had appeared between my legs yet. That was at the old church, before Mama stopped going. I smelled the tang other places too, from the vendor at the sweet stand, and the doctor who came once a year to record our height and weight on that black metal scale, from strangers in the bus, and bus drivers. Oh, and from Ruben, the neighbor 2 doors down. The scent of men, I thought, although I hadn't then solved the riddle of why not all men smelled that way. Benito put his hand on my thigh. His nails looked like the blanched almonds we ground up with powdered sugar to make wedding cookies. The basement darkened. It was my cousin's grand finale performance. Strobe lights, rented especially for this dance by Jessica's godfather, pounded our eyes blind. I felt Benito's hand slide to my skirt. Then underneath, he paused. I froze. His thumb detoured the thin fold of my underwear to burrow into the soft skin below. I stared straight ahead at the performance, and the thumb began to trace small circles in my flesh. It felt good, like when I thought about the green-eyed accordion player from Los Leones del Sur. My legs trembled, and From the corner of my eye, I saw Benito's man's shoulders and his thick eyelashes and dazzling flashes of light. The act ended with a brief ecstatic applause from the crowd. And then we were in a church basement again. Fluorescent lights blazed. Ants scuttled to the makeshift kitchen where portable gas flames kept mole bubbling and tortillas warm. I need to help with dinner, I said to no one and ran in the general direction of the clanking pots and pans. My underwear twisted uncomfortably between my legs, and just before I reached the busy ants, I swerved to the ladies' restroom. It was dark. Lysol hung in the air. I grabbed the rough brown paper towels meant for drying hands and folded them into neat rectangles, held them under the warm water while looking at myself in the mirror. Behind me, the restroom door opened. Benito stood there, looking at me, looking at him in the mirror. We weren't done yet, he smiled. You had your fun. Now it's my turn. He came close enough to me that I could smell the Presidente and Coke on his breath. I stood trapped between him and the sinks, but aimed my knee straight at his crotch like I'd seen characters do on TV. He caught it, saying, "Don't be difficult, or I'll tell your auntie what you did." He unzipped and yanked and fumbled until he seemed to have the whole situation aligned that I too would suffer as my great-grandmother had, albeit for the much less noble cause of saving my Aunt Gladys a broken heart. Then it happened. When Benito pulled my underwear aside and grazed my skin, a soft electrical current hummed through my body. A slim sliver of smoke floated between us. He was gone. On the tiled bathroom floor below me, hopped a tiny yellow warbler. It blinked its beady black eyes a few times, then broke into tune. Sweet, 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 sweet. Diana, with a groaning pitch of the door, Mama appeared in the bathroom. She looked at my skirt, gathered around my hips, and the yellow warbler singing on the bathroom floor. "Oh dear, pull your skirt down," she said. "It's time we talk about the birds and the bees." Mama scooped up the yellow warbler and opened the bathroom door for me. At home, Mama admitted she'd left out some key details of my great-grandmother's story. Like the fact my boyfriends will turn into birds? I asked. Mama seemed unfazed. "Not if they don't do anything you don't want them to." She'd made me a cup of lime blossom tea, as if its bright grassiness could soothe the legacy of a rape. I'm cursed. My hands trembled. Mama shook her head. "You're protected. You come from a long line of powerful women, each one with a unique gift. But I wanted none of it. Not the tea, and certainly not the unmasking of every fairy tale of my childhood. In my defense, what 12-year-old is ready to understand that Prince Charming is no dragon slayer, but perhaps the dragon himself?" As if reading my mind, Mama said, "Think of it as a new kind of fairy tale. The princess doesn't need to be rescued. She needs someone strong enough to fight at her side. Doesn't it ever skip anyone? I want it to skip me," I said. "Well, I'm not sure it skips anyone," Mama sighed. "But there have been some strange mutations, like your grandma's sister. Something to do with catcalls and lightning strikes. I don't really know the whole story. And of course there's your Aunt Gladys. We think she's just a late bloomer, but so far, nada." Then Mama got that look I'd come to dread. The look she got when she was ready to confide some personal experience to me about sex or men. Surely something I didn't want to know about my mother. I scanned the room and spotted Benito, scratching his scaly feet across the kitchen counter. With a soft rustle, he flapped his wings and flew straight into the dusty glass of the kitchen window. "What are we going to do with the bird?" I asked. And by the panic in Mama's look, I knew she'd completely forgotten him. We kept Benito in a cage in the atrium of the house, a bright open area that managed to keep its cool in the heat of the day. I'd wanted to set him free in the park, but Mama wouldn't let me on principle. "He'll starve or a predator will eat him," she'd said as she laid newspaper in the bottom of his cage. "We're not murderers." My Aunt Gladys reckoned Benito had run off with the pretty Valeria from the night shift. Benito had always flirted with her, and it couldn't be a coincidence that Valeria had gone missing on the same day, soon after punching out. My aunt's distress over Benito pained me in a way I couldn't explain. There he was, chirping and shitting on yesterday's newspaper, while my aunt theorized about his disappearance. Mama's solution was to serve plates mountained with the family's secret recipe of discada, known to be the best in the region. From across the table, she'd wink at me and hold her finger to her pursed lips. "Sweet, sweet, 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 sweet."